What is up, my people? Hello and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another Cup Chasers Daily here on the channel. Of course, we're taking a look at Arne Slot and the Liverpool fans, and of course, the situation surrounding the Champions League tie beginning this evening in Paris. And it's going to be a very, very, very difficult game for Liverpool. Going to be a very difficult evening for the Reds. So, of course, go ahead and smash up the likes for the Liverpudlians. For Arne Slot, if you are still a fan, of course, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you are new. It would be an absolute honor, a pleasure, and a privilege to welcome you to the community. And of course, it does help us on the road to 500. Push the video out to new viewers. And I want to know what you're thinking in the comments section. Your questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, admonitions, fears, desires, deepest, darkest dreams, all that good stuff right down below. All right, people. This is do or die for Arne Slot, in my opinion. It is come to a breaking point. It's all come to a head. Liverpool fans obviously not happy. Obviously, the demolition, destruction, obliteration, deletion at the hands of Manchester City in the FA Cup was a nightmarish performance scenario and day for the Reds. And when we were analyzing their approach to that game, you know, Asif said that he didn't necessarily think the mentality was there. And he thought that they were definitely going to lose. And so off the back of that, what's the mentality now? I mean, we know Asif here on the show has been very vocal about the fact that Arne Slot ain't it. Arne Slot needs to go. Should have been gone already. And you know it's bad. Like, it's really, really dark when the away fans, the ones that are left, by the way, because a lot of them left before the end of the match, rightly so. Your team, I mean, you can't blame them. You guys put in that much of a lackluster of a performance in an FA Cup quarterfinal, no less. I understand them leaving. 20 minutes ago, your team's 4-0 down and taking licks. Like, you're not going to be able to do anything about it. And so, yeah, they left. And the ones that were still there were singing Xabi Alonso's name. That is rough. That is rough pumpkins for the Premier League winning manager there. And it's so crazy that he won last season, now trying to, you know, improve and trying to kind of maybe make it his own. It's been absolutely horrendous. It's been, you know, people saying they're the worst champions ever. And it's hard to refute that. It's really, really hard to refute that. And for me, I've been very clear about the fact that I think they're about to take a beat down versus Paris, but it is the Champions League. You never can tell. I think that this match is incredibly, phenomenally, unbelievably important for Arne Slot. If they put in a good performance, then things might be okay. It might be all right. It might be acceptable, if not, you know, maybe manageable. Maybe that's not the word. Maybe acceptable is not the word. But if they put in a performance and are still in the tie, I think it will save his skin, really. Liverpool, obviously, FSG are desperate, absolutely desperate to keep man till the end of the season, just for timing reasons, just because we all know bringing in somebody mid-season is, you know, difficult. It's always a rough transition. As you look at other teams around the league, like Tottenham, for example, just a manager rotation wheel, and it's been horrendous. And so obviously they want to avoid bringing in, a new permanent manager with 7 games left. But it's bleak, man. It's really, really bleak. And it would be catastrophe. It would be absolute nightmare scenario if they didn't make the Champions League. But of course, thank you, Arsenal, for getting the England, the 5th English spot, I should say, for the Champions League next season. So you're welcome. You're welcome, Arne Slot. You're welcome, Liverpool, because it's going to be dark, man. I don't think that. The question is, does Liverpool think that even if they win this one, do the fans think that even if they beat Paris, are they going to beat Bayern or Real Madrid? Are they going to be Real Madrid if they pull it round? Are they going to beat Bayern? I don't think so. So do the Liverpool fans think so? And does Arne Slot think so? The question, I'm asking this question because, are we going to see a limp kind of half-assed performance where it's like, all right, look, the league is way more important. We desperately, 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 desperately have to finish 5th or better. What's up, Asif? Hope you're feeling better, man. Yeah. That's the question, isn't it, Asif? I'm wondering if FSG will act, because if it's a really horrendous performance today, and it's just a continuing on from the FA Cup quarterfinal, and you look the same, like, I think they might need to act. Because if they don't qualify for the Champions League next season, even if they do bring in, is Xabi Alonso going to want to come into a Europa League season? I mean, you would think so, because he obviously is, a legend of the club, loves the club. And so you would think maybe that, he would still come in, even if they lost. Not until the end of the season are we mathematically out of qualifying for the Champions League. Well, that's the thing. If you don't do it before, if you wait, and that waiting costs you Champions League, I'm wondering if Xabi Alonso will be less inclined to come in, because it's not like it's not like the rest of the season is all hunky dory and really, really easy teams to get through. I'm pulling it up now. So in between Paris, you have Fulham at home, and then it's Everton away. Ugh. Oh God. Yeah, they might need to act. They might need to act sooner rather than later. That May is disgusting. The May fixtures are disgusting for Liverpool. And if, say, you go out of the Champions League, apparently he has enough credit in the bank with the board. See, he definitely doesn't have enough credit in the bank with the fans. And the way you've been playing isn't putting any kind of credit in the bank, And so if you go crashing out of the Champions League with a horrible performance over 2 legs versus Paris, the very next game is Everton away. And then that's never, ever, ever easy for Liverpool. It will be the first time Liverpool are at the Hill Dickinson, so Everton are going to be way up for it. But then May is devastating. Old Trafford, then Stamford Bridge, then away to Villa, and then you host Brentford. Those are all do or die games in the race for the Champions League spots. And right now, it feels like there's no confidence in Arne Slot from the fans. There's no confidence. The only confidence is from the board, which is baffling. Are they watching? Have they been watching? What's up, Lumen? Glad you're here. Hope you're well. Has FSG been watching the performances? How can they still back them? And I think that it's big, because if Liverpool even put in any kind of a performance at all versus Paris, I think FSG will be like, look, it wasn't a horrible performance. It was, we didn't get destroyed. And I think that will prolong his being there, which for the fans, most fans, and I guess if my man Asif is a representative of the prevailing attitude amongst most of the Liverpool fans, then he doesn't have the backing at all. I mean, if you want real evidence, look at the fact that they were serenading Xabi Alonso after the defeat to Man City. So the fan atmosphere is definitely toxic. And the only way would be to like absolutely smash Paris, which would still just cover cracks, in my opinion. I don't think there's any way back for Slot personally. And I think it's just a please, 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 please get us into the Champions League and then you can F right off. Is kind of, I think, where most fans are, especially with it just feels like you're going to have to accept the fact that he might be around to the end of the season. But where's the breaking point? That's the thing. Like, what happens if you're in real danger? Who do you blame the most? Some of the players, Slot, or the board? Honestly, it's on Arne Slot for me, to be honest with you, Lumen. It's on Arne Slot. Yes, to see if it was a big result. I definitely hope you're well, man. Definitely hope you're well. But yeah, as far as who's to blame, for me, it's on Arne Slot because the longer things go on, the less confidence the Liverpool players have seemed to have had in Slot. And so he's the manager. He's got to manage the situation. He's the one that needs to rebuild that confidence. He's the one that needs to, find some more success, find a way to get what he has going right now to work. And he hasn't been doing that. And I think the situation has slowly gotten worse and worse. Performances have continued to decline. And it's been, it's kind of gone under the radar with all the noise around Arsenal, all the noise around Man City with their, resurgence or whatever. So I think, the fact that Liverpool are indeed the worst champions probably ever in the Premier League era, it's kind of going a little bit under the radar. And I think there's massive, massive, massive pressure on Slot, but it all comes down to what FSG think, right? They have said that they're backing him to the end of the season, but where's the straw that breaks the camel's back? And so I'm very, very interested in the performance. The result versus Paris, I kind of think is already written in the stars, but the performance could determine how long Slot stays or if he stays to the end of the season. Yeah, I agree. That's why I think the performance matters a lot, Asif. I think the performance matters a whole bunch because if you go out there and you put in a spirited performance and you manage to not be decimated and there's still a game to play at Anfield, like there's still the tie to be won at Anfield, and you then put in a really, really good shift and say you beat Fulham in between, and then you put in a really good shift and you push Paris all the way and maybe it goes to penalties or whatever, then Slot's safe for sure. Then FSG are going to be like, well, look, we weren't terrible. We gave it a go. It wasn't a disgusting embarrassment, disgrace like the Man City game. So perhaps just maybe, that's kind of where FSG are going to be. I think if you, and see, I'm not sure. I haven't studied. I haven't been a fan of Liverpool long enough, for ages to know what FSG and their patterns and their habits, I'm way more intimately, connected, knowledgeable on the Crunkies, of course. So I don't really know if FSG, how to gauge what FSG are really thinking. But by all reports, they're still backing him until the end of the season. I think they're desperate for him to stay till the end of the season, just to make things convenient, just to make the timing work. When you bring in, a full-time manager, you kind of want to start with a preseason, without having a horrible situation to have to turn around when you're hoping for a manager to be there for a long time. More chances of Sporting going to the semis than Liverpool. Yeah. In my humble opinion, yeah, there's more chance that Sporting beat us at the Emirates than there is of Liverpool going through. And so I do think that it's a weird one, because obviously the fans are going to want to beat Paris. The fans are going to want to progress in the Champions League, but at what cost? You know, if you put in a stellar performance but still lose, and that means FSG want to keep slot, but then you have an abysmal rest of the season. Don't get it twisted. Old Trafford is going to be really hard. You have to play Chelsea at Anfield. That's not going to be easy. And then you have to go away to Aston Villa. And then you host Brentford back to back to back to back at the end of the season. And that's all make or break. That's all do or die. And so this month, the rest of this month is going to be very interesting. You got 5 games, and will Slot be in charge at Old Trafford? That's the question. That's May 3rd. You go to Old Trafford on May 3rd. And so for me, if you guys give Paris a game, Slot will make it to the end of the season. How would you feel if Trafford goes to Spurs? I think he deserves playing rather than the beat down at number 2. It definitely looks like it. Definitely looks like it. The question is, does Trafford want to do that? Does Trafford want to do that and go to Spurs? I'm not sure. They'll definitely have to stay up in order for him to go there, but we'll see about that. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see, because what's it going to take for FSG to pull the trigger before the end of the season? That's where my head is, If you take an 8-0 over 2 legs to Paris and then don't beat Fulham in between, like, I'm just wondering how bad it has to get before FSG pull the plug. They're 5 points back of Villa, 6 points back of Manchester United, and Chelsea are only 1 point back of Liverpool. But if you look down behind them, Everton and Brentford are only 3 points. They're only 3 points behind them. And guess who's in 9th? They play Fulham at Anfield in between the Paris one. And if Fulham beat them, they'll be on 47, leapt into the Champions League conversation, into the Europa League conversation. So Fulham are going to want to win that game. And so it's going to be interesting. I'm just wondering how bad they have to be before FSG pull the plug. And it's an interesting situation, because you don't want to lose, but you also don't want the manager to be there. I mean, if you take a 10-0 or something to Paris, maybe he's got to go. If in the next week, in the next 3 games, it's just embarrassingly bad, like Spurs level bad, maybe he does go. I don't know. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments section down below. Did I see Diaz play last night? Yeah, and I did see Diaz. He's definitely a monster. Did you see the comments, Asif, that he said he made the right decision? But he said it was the right and correct decision to go to Germany. He said that after the game last night, I think, in one of the post-match comments. Luis Diaz, that is. And so, yeah, I think that has definitely contributed to the downfall. But I think really what it's come down to is Slot stuck with Klopp's style last season, and it was just way too difficult, coupled with injuries, of course, to transition to what he wants to play. And so the drop-off has been crazy, massive, just ridiculously massive, trying to make that transition. And it's really shown. It's really shown in the way Liverpool's season is kind of stumbling and bumbling at the moment. And maybe the saving grace is that Chelsea is absolutely disgustingly bad. On a personal level, it was better for him. For Liverpool as a football club, not a good decision. I agree. Spot on, Asif. Spot on, as you usually are, my friend. Yeah, but I hope you're feeling better, Asif. I'm going to lock it off right here. This has been the Cup Chasers Daily. Is this the end for Arne Slot? Could it be, or will he make it to the end of the season? I'm very, very interested to see what's going on today and how that reflects on the pitch versus Paris. So go ahead and smash up the likes for another Champions League night this evening. And for Arne Slot, if you are feeling sorry for him at all, subscribe to the channel. If you are new, it would be an absolute honor and a pleasure, a privilege even, to welcome you to the community on our road to 500 subscribers. It does help push the channel out to new people, new viewers. So we'll certainly appreciate that. And of course, get that notification bell on. We will be live for one of the games. I will be doing a watch along, I think, maybe. But then I know for a fact we will be live tonight, 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Of course, your regularly scheduled program for the Cup Chasers podcast. Make sure you are locked in every single time. I do appreciate you being here, and you will see me next time.